tax incentive to the town.
And that incorporates the parcels, the leases, and all that? Okay. I think okay. And I'll have to get my arm around this. I have quite a few others. I'll skip right to the chase. Originally, Green Development had offered to the town another incentive apart from it's $5 per kilowatt or 50 per megawatt. Green Development did offer an additional $2,000 for the megawatts. Is that offer still available to the town?
So the $5 is statutory. That's what OER basically came out and said has to be done. And if it was only the $5 that Green or these companies were offering, you wouldn't even need a tax stabilization agreement. It's simply the law. The extra $2 that Green was offering is the reason for the tax stabilization agreement, and it is actually in this agreement. It's memorialized in this document. Really, the $2 is the purpose for this document to exist.
Okay. Is there any beneficial to the developers to exceed the minimum $5 or $5,000 per megawatt? What's the incentive for the developer to contribute more?
Typically, it's for the developer to be a good neighbor to the town, make sure that the town is accepted of the project.
Is there any financial consideration or financial benefit to the developer to offer the town of North Smithfield above the state mandated amount?
No, I'd say it's a financial disincentive to the developer. It's simply making the project more expensive for them to develop.
Thank you. The principal of Green Development also had mentioned in public that there'd be a $250,000 upfront payment to the town for the town to use as they wish. Is that still something that's on the table?
I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with that particular payment, and I don't know that it's memorialized in this or that it would be appropriate to put it in a document like this.
Okay.
Not to say you couldn't do it, just the tax stabilization agreement is just to address that extra payment.
I think you'll find it in minutes also.
Yeah, I think there was a PowerPoint presentation that was given to
And I apologize, I wasn't involved at that point. I would tell you that those sort of special contributions, whether they be in dollars or in a project that build a recreational facility or something, are typically done in what's called either a project agreement or a development agreement, and they'll be specific to whatever was agreed on with the town, but not in this document.
On the tax stabilization agreement, my fellow councilors, if you wish to ask questions, I don't need to monopolize this, jump in. Third paragraph, second page, well, it might be your first, but hang on. I've got two of them cooking here, that's why. Tax stabilization. Going by the nameplate capacity, the expected capacity, we have XXX. What is going to be on the nameplate? Do we know now? Do we know how many?
So the nameplate capacity is estimated right now. It's in the vicinity of 39 megawatts, but it won't be known until the project is approved, because it's possible that the town's own governing bodies will approve something less than that. So until that's known, that's why that's excess for now.
So if you move down this proposed agreement, whereas the parties intend that neither the project owner nor the landowners, the rest of it, do we know what the current assessments are on all real lots out there, intangibles? Do we know the amount? Where this development is being proposed, there are residential, and I'm not sure about tangible. Do we know the amount that the town, and I'm not going to ask the town tax assessor to get this, I would ask that maybe somebody in your office find this out and present it to us. Do we know what, because we're asking to stabilize those as well, correct?
The statute is requiring that 5,000 a megawatt or the extra 2,000. That is in lieu of tangible taxes.
Okay.
It's for the renewable project itself. It has nothing to do with the underlying real estate.
Tangible, so it has nothing to do with the land value.
Correct.
Is that okay?
The land value continues to remain
Yeah,
adjustable by.
I wanted to hear it. Thank you. So if we move over to number 6, and that assignment by project owner, I want to make sure that the town is protected here in case of decommission. Bonds are very cumbersome to call a bond in. My thinking is that we might need to be looking for a cash decommission amount to be figured out, a reasonable amount. Possibly figure in, I'm going to make up a scenario. My numbers may be off, okay, so bear with me. if we had a 10-year agreement, and we went into a cash decommission, and we put it in an escrow interest-bearing account, which the developer would get back at the end if everything was okay, I'm thinking we have to come up with a number, and I also would like to see it reviewed every 3 or 5 years for an increase. What may be reasonable to decommission the site today? 5 years from now, maybe not enough money in the cash decommission account. So that's something I'd like you to think about.
Sure. The only thing I could add, if I would, is that even at the end of the useful life of the project, which is probably 35 years, the modules actually still have value and they will be repurposed and used on another project, perhaps somewhere else in the country or somewhere else in the world. So there's inherent value to really all of the components that are going into this. It's not just scrap. They actually will be reused and repurposed.
Okay, I'm just thinking with technology advancing, the solar panels today, 3 years from now, those solar panels today may be obsolete and they may have really no scrap value, but that's just me thinking, just like the laptop I've been using, my kids have been saying, Dad, get rid of it. Dad, get rid of it. Can't get it for that laptop, I couldn't give it away. So that's just the way I look at advancements.
No, I do understand, but I guess what I'm suggesting is the life is much, much longer than that, and even after the useful life of this project, they'll almost certainly be repurposed and used on another project. So the technology is developing to make more powerful panels that do different things, but they will not become obsolete in that time. They would have more than scrap value, that's most likely.
Okay.
I have a question. Is it possible to get a breakout of the useful life of the 35 years to see what the remaining value is? Do we get to see that data?
I'm not really sure where that data would come from. I can't tell you. The degradation is usually about 0.5% a year, so really they stay pretty viable over a long period of time, which is why they would be repurposed. I can't tell you they'd be repurposed in New England because 35 years from now I'm sure they'll have more powerful, more efficient panels, but in other parts of the world they typically would be repurposed.
Okay. Is it possible to get a breakout of like a panel in New England, what does it look like versus a panel in Southern California? Because I'm assuming they're very different. I mean,
if I'm understanding what you're asking, what?
yeah, I'm trying to get the environment and the area in which the panel resides. Does it, and this is for a future discussion, but does it have a different wear and tear? Does it depreciate differently versus another area?
Oh, I see the question. So I would say generally the higher the intensity of the sun in a particular place, for example, something in the desert in Arizona will probably have a shorter useful life than something in New England that's just not getting that direct sun all the time. So if anything, these panels would have a higher residual value than something that was being taxed to its capacity. If I understand your question.
No, I think what I'm trying to get at.
I think it's more just the weather in New England, the snow and the ice. How does it affect these panels? We're in Southern California. It's beautiful weather all the time.
I mean, a panel in Kansas could be gone with a tornado. I mean, you're saying it's like a depreciation, but the weather that plays a factor in it.
Sure, but
Can't guarantee that.
yeah, I would be disingenuous to say I'm an expert in that area. It's a little bit over my head. I will tell you that I don't know that the weather conditions in New England would devalue a panel any more than the weather conditions anywhere else in the country. If anything, they're being underused here because they're not getting intense sun all the time. They're designed to be, weather resistant. Obviously, they're a 35-year. That's the intended life of the projects.
Item number 3 on page 3, where you got increases and reductions. It says if the nameplate capacity in kilowatt AC in the project differs from the expected capacity. Is that based on what it's actually generating, or is that just based on the design, where it's designed to say 40 and it's only getting 39.2?
It's actually a little bit confusing. The nameplate capacity really doesn't have anything to do with what it actually produces. The statute and the OER regulations are all designed around nameplate, which is what it's designed to produce. So this is just saying that at the time you sign the agreement, we won't exactly know that. So they'll put in a plug number, and to the extent that it ends up having a higher or lower nameplate capacity as built, which can be externally verified, then it'll adjust to that amount. What it actually produces irrelevant for purposes of the taxes.
It's a one-time adjustment.
Correct.
Once you make that nameplate adjustment up or down, that's what it stays at.
Virtually
It doesn't change, like, it doesn't depend,
Yeah, as a commercial operation date. It's what basically it's the as-built.
in what it should produce or what it's
designed to produce.
Right, designed to produce. It doesn't matter whether it's cloudy for 30 days, it doesn't matter.
Correct. It's not actual production, it's nameplate capacity, what it's supposed to be able to produce.
Yep.
So after just hearing that, if, let's make this up, the nameplate says 40 megawatts, or whatever the individual units are, total, and there's a production of 41, is there an increased revenue to the town of North Smithfield?
There is not. The way the statute is written, it's purely based on nameplate capacity, and the OER regulations say the same nameplate capacity, and I believe that was to give consistency so that you would know exactly what it is and it would not change the town's budget.
Okay, this might be something that the town may look into. Capacity may be underrated, and it may have more capacity, so this is new to me. It's the first time I've seen this agreement, so I'm trying to work my way through it.
Sure, the agreement is really just capturing what's already the law today.
Yeah.
That's in the statute and in the OER regulations that the statute promulgated. So there's no twist I'm putting on it. It's simply reiterating what the
I'm
law
not
is.
sorry you're putting a twist on. No. I'm just trying to understand it. Sometimes I speak before I think.
I have a question follow-up to that. I think, so in that instance, 39, right, does 41, period of time, it's doing 41. What makes up the two? Who's getting that extra 2 megawatts? So is it just auto program and it's 39 and it's got it and will shut down after?
So again, it's nothing to do with production. It's purely nameplate capacity. It's what it is designed to produce. So at the time this is signed, it's believed it's going to produce 39 megawatts. As it turns out, when it's actually built, approved and built, the nameplate capacity, it hasn't started producing any energy yet. The nameplate is actually 38 or 41. That's what your taxes would be based on. That's what the statute says. So it's nothing to do with its production. The nameplate is just what it's designed to produce. It might produce twice that or half that. It doesn't matter. Nameplate capacity is what the statute and regulations call for.
So twice that is a bonus to the green development?
It's really not a direct correlation. The nameplate capacity, what it actually produces, could be 2 totally different things. It's just what it's rated for. For example, a nameplate capacity of something is presuming what it's fully capable of producing. In the desert in Arizona, and here you're never going to get that full capacity. So the science is a little beyond me, but the really production and nameplate capacity aren't directly related.
So if manufacturing is below the nameplate amount, does that mean if the manufacturing of renewable energy megawatts are less than the faceplate amount, is the town still going to receive the faceplate? Okay, just
The nameplate capacity, that's correct.
thank you.
Mr. President, may I follow on that too? Just to be clear, what if for some reason the developer shuts it down for even an interim period? Does the town continue to get paid?
I believe that, Mr. Zofsky, that's addressed in section 12. And I believe there's an abandonment provision. So if the project is shut down, then you will be paid.
Okay, but abandonment versus shut down because maybe you got a faulty component that can't be replaced for 6 months.
That would not change the tax. Abandonment would be the project is overdone, decommissioned.
Thank you.
When you say done, decommissioned, you come in and take it all away?
Not in this agreement, but yes. I'm sure that you're already aware, the cost of building these is not insignificant at all. They're exceptionally expensive, so it would take a cataclysmic event for any developer or owner not to want to operate this for its entire useful life.
So if we have this for a certain number of term, and you guys decide to abandon it, decommission it, whatever, prior to the 10 years, it's done.
It's done. And I guess the corollary would be it's a tangible tax, so essentially you're taking the tangible asset away and pulling out there's nothing left to tax. So I presume that's the reason for it.
the statement of public. Solicitor Igliozzi, I'm not really comfortable with this proposed agreement. I'm sure that you'll be looking at it again, and I would certainly like to participate, if I can, with the council's indulgence, to somewhat come on board and take a long, hard look at this. I'll tell you right up front, Mr. President, I was one of the council people that voted to make a solar overlay district. And I did so because it was done under the purpose of purchasing other open space in town. Those opportunities have eluded us. The overlay's there. I'm just not really happy with this, what I'm reading. I'm not really comfortable with the agreements.
I'm happy to address it in the way I can. Again, all the agreement is doing is adding to what the statute already requires. It's an agreement to give more money to the town in the way the statute and regulations allow. So I'm happy to tweak it. I'm not really sure what else I could do with it in that regard, but I'm happy to work with your solicitor to make that happen.
Yeah, I would like to work with the council's indulgence if they would support, or are you comfortable with me helping?
Absolutely. To clarify, really, some of the definitions of what's going on are not clear. Especially in paragraph 12, 8 is another one, and 3. I think it can be clarified, and I'm sure with a small group and a lot of working together that it can be more clarity for not only ourselves, but people of the town.
Certainly happy to work with your solicitor or whoever else is involved to clarify it as much as I can.
So you're looking for,
Well, if not me, one of us,
I don't have a problem working with David. I've worked with David a little bit already on this. If you want to join us,
Yeah, as long as we keep it to a minority, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
work with David and the town administrator and Green and yourself and myself. If that's what the council wants. That's what we can continue to do that. And then we can try to get something ready and prepared for a public hearing.
Is something we should take a vote on, Mr. Solicitor, or just?
Yeah, I think if you're going to actually, council should feel comfortable that myself, the council members are going to meet with Mr. Rossini and the developer and the administrator. They got to, not necessary, but I think a vote would be appropriate in these circumstances. So people know the idea is to come back with a document to be placed, at least for public consideration down the road.
I'd like to make that motion. Perhaps you could help me as far as clarification that Mr. Vadney, both President, Vice President, and with David, meet with, get your last name.
Mr. Rossini. No problem.
Rossini? Okay. Work with this, meet with him to clarify the terminology, etc., to make it clear. And Gary, Gary, and yourself.
Second.
There's a motion by Mrs. O'Hara, second by Mr. Mondioli. Any other discussion?
That's a quick comment. So the next time, if this goes through, the next time we're going to see this is at the public hearing? Or we have another opportunity to review prior to public
You
hearing?
certainly could have another opportunity to review it, and we did this.
I would like to have that opportunity,
Yes.
just to make
Yes.
sure.
I mean, there's no requirement that the public hearing has to happen. You can see it, not
That's only happen when we have an agreement that we want to present. Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.